Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the homestead. Thought you'd like to go out with me today instead of freaking hanging out inside the house. It's been such a beautiful day, right? So, beautiful sun and all this kind of good stuff. So I had to go out and change the batteries on my camera. I wanted to walk some of the game trails to see what's happening up in here. You know, bear season's going to be coming along, and I always like to get a black bear and put it in the freezer in the spring, and then another one in the fall, like a blueberry bear, right? But isn't it wild with this psyop that's happening? I mean, as you see in this interview with Trump, it's freaking going crazy.
Well, it wasn't depiction. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support, and only the fake news could come up with that one. So,
but that's part of the plan, and all these things are happening. Everybody's focused on what's happening over in Hormuz, in the Strait of Hormuz, but not understanding what's really happening. Some people are thinking, wow, you know, the whole world is just so focused on getting oil out of Arabia. But people are also missing the fact that while Iran has blocked off the city of London, the Bank of England, who basically controls all the oil that comes out of Arabia, the oil that's being sold right now is the oil that's being sold out of Texas and California. So then people are thinking, well, great, that means all this money's coming to America and to Americans. But it's not coming to Americans and American citizens. It's going to the oil companies. So what's happening here? If you're thinking critically, you're starting to realize that the Russians are making boku money right now off selling oil to Europe and into Asia and to China, the Chinese. And the Chinese are trying to get the oil out of there, but see how that plays out. But the ones who are actually selling oil are the Americans and the Russians. The Arabs, they can't get it out of the Strait of Hormuz. But again, is this coming to the American citizens or is it coming to the elites? So what you're actually seeing right now is a wealth grab. And it's a grab by the elites preparing for what's coming. Remember, I told you that the cabal has records that goes back thousands of years. They understand how the world cycles. Depression, war, and then response and abundance. Great Depression, World War II. Bretton Woods, creation of the new economy. Everybody's abundance. That is, at this moment, collapsing. It has fulfilled its cycle. It's just like on my land. I look at all the things that grow. They reach their maturity. Then they reach old age, and then they begin to die. Or they're harvested before they lose everything. That's what the cabal is doing. They understand what is happening in this world. And they're using the psyop to distract people why they do this. The war in the Middle East with Iran is a distraction. From what's really happening is they are hoarding the wealth that will then enable them, because they know how the cycle is going, to leapfrog over everybody else who's basically going to get run over by the bus. Supposedly that's supposed to be you and me, right? But for those of us prepared, and those of us who are preparing, which I've been imploring you to prepare, you'll make through it. You'll make it through, depending on where you are. There are places, doesn't matter how much wealth you have, you're just going to get eaten alive. And then there are others who are living in remote areas. There's a reason I picked Alaska. There's a reason a lot of the elites are picking New Zealand and Patagonia. And that's pretty much it. Southern Australia, Tasmania. And they're just getting ready for what's coming. And that coming is going to be a major economic collapse, It's going to be a major blockage to food supply for the majority. Remember, as I showed you in the graph yesterday, all that's happening right now is a major increase of population that's happened since 1910, about 19, right after World War I, when people became more and more reliant on petroleum products. And the result of that, which is you had less mortalities and you had increased reproduction. And population, as a result of that, went from the average about 1.5 billion, all the way up to what it is right now, which is 8 billion. That's what these people have been preparing for. They've been preparing for this major thinning. And because of the normalcy bias that's within the majority, the sheeple, they don't want to look at it. They're the ones that would never touch this channel because they are terrified of looking at the truth, looking at what's coming. These are the people who've been so accustomed to bounty and the idea that there is no death, that we continue to just have this bounty and this big giant party and everybody gets to enjoy it. These are the people I remember back in Silicon Valley in the Bay Area, back in California. These are the people you're seeing over in Miami who are just partying like crazy in Miami Beach. But you can also see what's happening in New York. And New York is getting ready to implode. This brings you back to the question of how have you been preparing? How have you been working on getting into the country? As I've told you, I'm not a country boy. I'm the descendant of country people. But I was born and raised in a metropolitan area. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, when Trinidad and Tobago was at the best of its time. I barely even remember that. But I remember the stories of how great Trinidad and Tobago was. But look at Trinidad and Tobago now. All my friends from Trinidad and Tobago are saying, God, you're so lucky you're in Alaska because frickin' Trinidad and Tobago is a nightmare of drugs and murder. I mean, it makes look frickin' Compton, L.A. look like a frickin' idyllic sight in contrast to the way frickin' Trinidad has fallen from what it used to be, which has been happening throughout Latin America. Shoot, even Ecuador, where my mother's from, or where my dad was born, Chicago. I mean, Chicago used to be the most grandeur city, if not America, in at least through the Midwest. And that's why all the beautiful architecture that the German and Swiss side of my family helped build as contractors and construction workers and carpenters. South side of Chicago, the Abischurs and the Mullahs, they built most of that during the 1800s. That's my family on that side, on my dad's side, on half of his side. The other side's the Scots-Irish, that came much earlier. But you know this history, and you watch how this develops. And I just know this history through reading family trees and then reading about the lines that came over from Europe. But think about if I'm able to have that kind of knowledge of history, just even family history, national history, world history. Just think if I was one of the elites of the cabal of the Rothschilds and all these other names, the Rockefellers, and have on the Fords, and have at my whimsy the ability to say, tell me about what happened in this time in this part of the world. That's why you've got David Dubine, who with his Adapt 2030, and he's talking about how they're getting ready to turn the Middle East into a new plethora, a new Eden again, the Garden of Eden. Bringing up all the water from the desert, bringing it up, and then being able to water it. But also, you've also seen what they've been trying to do, where they've been modifying with geoengineering, where they created storms, and that's why you had all that flooding, was it last year? And they basically almost wiped out Dubai. That was not natural. But we have this ability, we have this scientific knowledge to be able to modify the weather and the ability to move Earth in ways that we haven't been able to before. But we also, at the same time, have had societies just totally collapse, and they've been nurtured to collapse based on people who are trying to fractionate us and keep us in chaos. That's the reason that they placed Trump. They placed Trump just like all the other actors who were called political leaders in France and England in Germany. They're all placed. They're placed as they're actors. I mean, it's no coincidence Trump was a reality TV actor. He plays the role. He is playing the role. America is getting this boon of oil sales, but it's not going to you and me. It's going to the power elites who have all the investment in these companies. It's going into the Rockefellers, but actually it's going into the people above the Rockefellers that you don't know about. Because even the Rockefellers are a front, just like Trump is a front. If you understand how politics really works, the people truly in power, you never know who they are. That's how this plays out. And people say that it's not being controlled by anybody. Of course it's being controlled. You can see the thread. Remember I told you, when I ran pseudo operations, it was all about tracking people, hunting people down. Well, you find out what a person's track is psychologically, behaviorally. What do they do? Where do they go? And that's how you track them, hunt them down, and get them. Well, this is the same way you think about this cabal and what this cabal is doing. Or I should say the cabals. There's all these tiers I was telling you about. The mining, the minerals, the money. Below that, the media, the military. And they're all tiers supporting each other up to the top and then directed down to the bottom. And these are cabals that keep on being created. You know, like the Trilateral Commission. That's actually a very new cabal. But then you've had the Illuminati before that. The Illuminati was created by the Rothschilds. There's an actual book written in 1798 that I've mentioned previously many times about. Written by a Scottish professor by the name of Robinson, who had to get it published in Philadelphia because he could never get it published in the UK because the Rothschilds would kibosh it. There are so many books that have tried to be published that haven't been published. But you can get access to them because maybe you knew the writer, you knew the researcher who put it all together. And the research that they've put together is very strong. It's kind of like what Chris Milligan, he's another source. Google him and Google all his books that he publishes. He did the book on Skull and Bones, and in Skull and Bones you start to understand how this all plays out. And no, Skull and Bones is not like the cabal. It's just one of many. They're all tired. They're all tied into each other. And sometimes they're working together, sometimes they're working independently, and then other times they're actually in conflict with each other. You're seeing the conflict play out right now. The cabal's working with the Arabs. Who are they? Well, that's the Rothschilds. Then you've got the cabal in the United States. The Ford, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies. Running with the oil, selling the oil, making all the wealth. Making sure that they've got their pot to sit on when everybody else is trying to stay afloat. You need to be freaking paying attention to this because this is not going away. The chaos is there for a reason. It's in order to keep you all distracted. You're distracted with the oil prices. You're distracted with the war. You think your sons are going to go and fight. And they probably will be sent to fight in a stupid war that ain't going to do anything. It's time for people to be paying attention and not avoiding the facts and not avoiding things that don't look good. Because if at least you look at the thing and you're not praying and hoping that somebody's going to bail you out. Remember, if you're an American, your Constitution was designed to remind you that the power is within you. And if you're a believer in God, you realize that God is inside you and will work through you if you're willing to truly reach out and accept it and understand there's a strength within that you can actually get through. If not, you're just going to get run over. Just about everybody's going to get run over. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people are going to get just run over because they're so disconnected and they're running from so much fear. I'm not telling you who your God is. I'm just saying that as a representation, as a label, I'm using the word God. You could use energy. You could use whatever you want. You could use Jesus Christ, which is kind of interesting that here you've got a president, who said that, oh, well, I just sent it out and I thought it was, he was a healer. And I thought it was a cool rendition of a doctor. Either he's insane, dementia's fully taken over Trump, he's just an idiot, or he is actively participating in the demoralization of the American people through all the previous ones that I was talking about. Or he's just a flat-out actor, and he's being told what to say and how to act and how to respond. I'm actually fitting with the last one, because I don't think anything comes out of him. I think he's totally 100% controlled. And the way he responds is in the manner he's been told to respond, with his own flavor, which is, well, I thought it was a doctor. This is the chaos. This is the psyop. This is the psyop. And you need to understand what the psyop is so that you can remain on an even keel. If you don't remain on an even keel, you're going to be tossed left and right across the sea. You need a ground, you need to freaking line up, and you need to be having a focus of what you're going to do to get through this. Because now you've got an example right in your face. Just like him saying what he said. Which I saw it, I was like, well, goddamn. We have no questions now. And I'm so happy I got to where I decided to go back in 2008 because I knew this was coming. And that's what I'm talking about with people who are not prepared. And we call them piled higher and deeper. And a lot of them have PhDs. I'm seeing all these people doing their shows and talking like Chris Martenson and all kind of stuff. And he's talking about, oh, how you got to prepare. And it's like, oh, and he started with the oil. But it was never about the oil. And now you're starting to see that. There is no finality of the oil in terms of how long it will be to be able to transfer to anything else in the future, which will actually happen probably after this financial system is over and they transfer over into the next one. And suddenly, oh, wow, we have all these other energy sources that we can use. Oh, but we didn't know about this. That's what they'll come up. They discovered it. Even though if you read documents from the 1800s, they've known about all these various forms of energy. That's the reason I read old books, because I'm blown away about all the things they knew about, like how to run engines without petroleum, just using corn oil and peanut oil and sunflower oil. Remember, all these seed oils, they were never designed for your gut. As a matter of fact, they're deadly. That's why everybody's having these issues. But hey, they're fine with it because they make money off the medications they sell you too. You're supposed to be eating animal products. Like when you fry the way your grandparents did. Lard, tallow, chicken fat, goose fat, duck fat. Why is it the French always have the best fries? Because they cook in duck fat. That's the way it's supposed to be cooked. Not in vegetable oil. But that's great stuff for lubricating the engines. And that's what it was designed for. Remember, they started selling it as a food product when World War I was over. And they were trying to find out what market, and they didn't want to close this big industry that they created. Remember, they're trying to continue these previous industries. This is how sick and twisted. And if you can make that break, and you can see it for what it is, you're good to go. So I was going to talk about the piled higher and deeper, and to be aware of it, I'm going to break it down for you. Who are the people who actually have PhDs and they're worth listening to, as compared to people who rely on their PhDs and their doctor title, or their colonel or general title, or whatever title that they have, instead of you realizing that the information they're sharing with you is solid up unto itself. You need to be clear thinking. You need to see a person for who they are. That when you're talking with this person back and forth, you realize this guy's pretty squared away. He knows what's up. He knows what he's doing. And I maybe should pay attention to all the treasures that he's sharing with you. This is becoming more and more important. So I'll be taking you out here into my property and my land and see how beautiful it is. I mean, shoot, you'll be seeing more. Don't worry about it. It'll put you at ease. And I'll be sending you over to 5 acres and a moose. I've been thinking about how I'm gonna run. I'm just gonna start shooting video of me just doing stuff. So if you just want to relax and you want to just zone out, a lot of people do, and not have to think about it. You can go over to 5 acres and a moose with Cork Graham and just kick back in the forest with me while I go and do things, or when I go out fishing, or if I get this plane that I'm working on. I'm kind of timid about getting a plane right now, just because of it's not the idea of availability of fuel, especially avgas, but it's the idea of how freaking expensive it is, because these people are just trying to choke us out. But who knows? I've been looking into how you can modify certain types of fuels to be able to run in your plane. And if everything collapses, there won't be an FAA. And I won't give a damn about them either. I'm actually looking forward to the idea that all these departments that have been created unnaturally, really just to steal your money and control you. All these departments that have kept on appearing in the U.S. government, that's what they've been designed. They've been designed to employ more people, because if you have more people who get their paycheck from the government, they're less likely to bitch at the government, because they're going to get worried that they might not get their check. As you may have noticed with a lot of former military who have spoken up and have been told that they're not going to get certain of their retirement. Kind of mind-blowing. Yeah. Or threatened with it. So, on that matter, I hope this little excursion into the woods. Yeah, oh, if you were asking what this is my 375 Ruger. Yeah, that's a big freaking round. That's my index finger. Look how long that thing is and how big and fat that thing is. And yeah, that's the reason I carry it out here with a 300 grain round nose Hornady, because I have big brown bears about 1,200 pounds that like to walk around in the neighborhood. And if I surprise one and he's angry or she's angry, I might have to do something. Guess what? You have similar dangers in your country, in your land. They might not be bears. They might be something like, I don't know, somebody trying to steal your stuff. You always have to be aware. You always have to be paying attention to things. So I hope you're paying attention. You're doing your best to deal with the things that are coming. I'll be releasing more information. We'll go through what are the ramifications of this oil game that's going on. And it's a game. Think about that. They keep us fighting each other. They keep us divided. It's all about keeping us suppressed, because they just like the idea of suppressing people, because it gives them some kind of strength. Which, you think about it, strong people don't need to do that. Strong people go and live their lives. I live my life. I hope you're living your life too. I just pay attention to the things that might want to affect my life. And I deal with them as I see them pop up. And I hope that I have what would you call it? A warning system, a group, a collection of people who are willing to give me intel as quickly as possible, so that I can rely on in the same way that as I look at things and I share it with you, that you can then make your own analysis based on the information that I've collected, and then I've made my own analysis and I've tried to get it across to you, that you can actually work with it and go further with it in your own lives, in your own situation. So, stay well, God bless, and watch your six.